Amber Heard takes the stand again. Well, at least for the court of public opinion, which she's not going to win anyway. But let's watch this interview meltdown together.
Gracias por ver La Esquina de Jody. Thank you for watching Jody's Corner.
YouTube was good. It's your boy Jody Joe. Welcome to Jody's Corner. This is your daily news for Wednesday, June 14th, 2022. Amber Heard speaks out. Let's take a listen.
Has it sunk in? How could it? It's surreal and difficult. In part, yes. This has been a long time coming.
Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course. To my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
Stand by that lie. That's right.
The real-life drama of the defamation case between Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp captivated millions of people around the world.
Amber Heard just got exposed.
Johnny, you hit me.
This is so cringe.
With clips spreading across social media like wildfire.
Flaring her up.
Vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial
How do you know,
is
Amber?
an example of that gone haywire, gone
You
amok.
always
and
knew.
the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying burn the witch, death to Amber.
Oh, shoot.
After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full.
Hey, let's keep it a whole buck right now. If this was Salem, 15th century, she'd be burning at the stake. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If this was the 15th century, she did this stuff, they would have burned her, bro. They would have did the whole shit. Witch, they would have did it, bro. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Let's get back to it.
Of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal, energized.
Can you put into words
Jack Sparrow fans? Nah, we're just fans of good cinema.
felt?
Not just pirates.
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever
Good,
been through.
good.
I have never felt more removed from my own humanity.
Good.
I felt less than human.
Let's
Good.
go back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
Say yes. You knew you were going to win. You knew it.
That's a great question. I wish I could say yes to that.
Because you lost.
I want to say yes to you, but it
It'd be a lie.
wouldn't be true. Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't tell me, look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
After the 6
music to my ears.
The jury found Heard defamed Depp in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she wrote she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never mentioned her ex-husband by name. Depp denied the abuse allegations in court. Heard won just one of 3 claims in her countersuit against her ex-husband. That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge ruled
Johnny
against
all
Depp
cool
in a
shit.
similar case in the UK, in which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife beater.
There was another trial, handled it dealt with the same substantive issues that had even more evidence in. In fact, mine.
And it was biased. And it was a
my evidence
prejudice
was
trial.
largely kept out. Really
Unfair.
important pieces of evidence kept out.
There's that lying face.
Handled
There's that
differently
lying face.
by a judge instead of a
That
jury.
lying
Some
face.
evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will
Say yes.
His lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that.
Oh, is it?
This is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech.
Not lies.
It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that was
Yes, exactly.
Shoot her in the head.
Free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
But truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
In the
Oh
closing
my
arguments,
God, she's
the Depp lawyer
pathetic.
said,
You're
called your
pathetic.
testimony the performance of a lifetime, and said you were acting. What
Yes.
do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer. I had listened.
Are you seriously going there? You seriously took shots at a movie character for... What does that mean, Amber? Convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. He convinced the world of shit. He was playing a character, Edward Scissors. What is going... What does that even mean? What's the purpose of that? That's an insult? Are you using this interview to insult Johnny still? You just can't get out of your own way. Your evil is just total. You can't, your evil's too big. It's too big for that room. It's too big for that camera. It's too big for these lighting and the mics. You just dragged Johnny for convincing the Edward Scissorhands joke? Convincing the world that he has scissors for fingers? What does that mean? What the heck?
2 weeks of testimony
What?
insinuating that
Testimony, the performance of a lifetime, and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress.
You are.
I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
In fairness, she's a terrible actress in real life. Like being in the court on the stand trying to portray an abuse victim. She's awful. But on screen, she's not a terrible actress, y'all. Let's keep it at the 100. She's a bad actress.
Were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I
love the way you lie.
You have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes in which you acknowledge hitting. There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
Much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape.
Get her!
You did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you...
What? Your life at risk?
But when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do with...
This is my last interruption, y'all. Unless something really funny happens. I'm not going to interrupt this anymore. I'm going to give you guys confidence. I am not going to interrupt no more because I'm not going to let this bother me. She lost the case. And because she lost is why I'm cool. We got the W, y'all. Let me just go ahead and hear her bullshit lies and not let them trigger me because they don't mean anything.
The luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp, I, a man, am a victim of domestic violence.
Second clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpt from.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He
And
says
it
he
doesn't-
never hit you.
He can't-
Never. Is
yeah.
that a lie?
Yes, it is.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you instigate physical violence?
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and support the person they depend on.
Did they all come in and lie in court?
I am not here to call any of his witnesses any names. I'm here to just kind of talk
But call
about
Johnny a name.
what it felt like for me as the person who sat there.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was,
Truth.
because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship.
This performance is awful.
I behaved in horrible.
I hate her
almost
face.
Unrecognizable to myself.
And by what I
ways.
mean, it's
There's
just
so much. I have
the same
so
face.
much regret. I freely
Bullshit.
and openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between,
Reality?
right and wrong. I
Yeah.
will always continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful. It was very, very toxic. We were awful to each other. I made a lot of mistakes.
Where's your bruise kid?
A lot of mistakes.
She got a whole bruise kid.
Heard's lawyers say they plan to appeal that verdict. And as for the notion from Heard
Oh,
that
man,
there
it's
was
over already.
evidence
Fuck.
allowed in that UK trial that could have potentially made a difference last week, Depp's attorney said here on Today that the evidence presented in the latest trial far exceeded the UK one, 2 different processes, and they believe the jury got it right. Well, we have a lot more of our conversation to share with you tomorrow morning on Today, including Heard's response to some of the other allegations made about
Be
her
here tomorrow.
and her answer when I asked how she feels about Johnny Depp now. We've got lots more of that. Our exclusive interview with Amber Heard will also air on a special edition of Date
Friday.
Friday night at 8/7 Central.
There's going to be an hour-long interview Friday. Make sure you guys tune in to Jody's Corner and subscribe. Make sure you guys are subscribing by clicking that bell. Ringing that icon. Hitting subscribe. And supporting Jody's Corner. Listen, man. This chick is a bona fide straight up liar, and I hate looking at her face because she makes that same face and those same mannerisms, the head shakes, the fake look of frustration, moving her eyebrows, critching her nose. No one's hurting you. You are doing nothing but capping on TV, and it looks just how you looked in the courtroom when you said your dog stepped on a bee. Nobody's believing your lies. You have proven to people. What you don't realize, Amber, is that you had people on your team who were like, "Yeah, Amber, get your justice." And then after the trial, they were like, "Burn this bitch. She's a liar." You've converted Amber supporters who just blindly believed all women. And then once that truth came out in the court and they saw you, they knew you're nothing like a domestic violence victim. And then what I sense, what I get a lot, and how what would disgust me to my core is to know that when I have callers call in my show and these women call in and they're real domestic violence victims and they're crying to me on the phone and they're weeping and they're emotional, and it just automatically comes out, because that's what usually happens when you talk about traumatic things that happen in your life. You start to get emotional, real tears, real crying. The voice crackles and breaks up. You did none of that on the stand because you don't have any trauma, at least from Johnny, that is. You don't have it. And you're a disgrace to all women out there who actually had to go through what you claim to go through and try to get it for clout and money. You're trying to get money off of the situation that a gang of women really go through that torments their lives to this day. Amber, you trash. And you for the streets. In other news, we're going to get an update on the Britney Spears situation. As you guys know, Jason Alexander, not George Costanza from Seinfeld, but Jason Alexander was Britney Spears' ex-husband who then crashed Britney's wedding a couple of days ago and was arrested. So we finally got a glimpse at exactly what some of these charges are. As we can see, Jason Alexander was filed. He got a felony charge. They charged him with a felony. 646.9, a misdemeanor charge 602, a misdemeanor charge 594, and a misdemeanor charge 242. So what I did was I didn't know what none of these were, so I went and I looked them up. So the first one, that felony charge, is stalking. 646.9 is stalking. California stalking law makes it illegal to follow or harass and threaten another person. In order to violate the statute, the threat must put the alleged victim in a reasonable fear for his or her safety, which is definitely proven here. I'm pretty sure people were terrified when they heard about a man trespassing actually in the house. Then we saw here that it was another penal code of 602. I looked up 602, and that is trespassing. It's California law is criminal trespass, defined as entering or remaining on someone else's property without permission or a right to do so. They entered and remained. So dude definitely trespassed. The other charge that we saw was 594. I looked up 594, and that one is vandalism. California Penal Code 594 defines the crime of vandalism as maliciously damaging, destroying, or defacing another person's property. Vandalism is a misdemeanor if the amount of the damage is less than $400, but the charge can be felony if the amount is 400 or greater. I thought it was 500. I thought you hit felony when you get 500. But dude, I'm sorry, man. $400 of damage. I wonder what he did. When they tackled him, he probably fell on some rose petals. And they said, "You're charged for this shit, bitch." So they tackled him, roughed him up. He probably hit a flower pot or he knocked over a champagne glass. Vandalism, motherfucker. You gotta be careful when you do this type of shit, man. Look, listen, bruh, get some help, bro. You definitely gonna see some jail time. You might not catch that felony, but they definitely gonna give you some jail time for this shit. So Britney, new life, a new husband. I hope you nothing but the best. That's what I'm saying. Next, on to some other news, on to some perverted shit. Kevin Spacey is actually set to appear in a UK court this Thursday, the 16th. As you guys know, Kevin Spacey was tried on 4 counts, I believe, of sexual misconduct. Yes, he's been formally charged for 4 counts of sexual assault and a further offense by British police. Listen, this thing goes crazy. Kevin Spacey has been tied to sexual misconduct for a very long time. Assault, rape, all that shit. But the problem is he never goes to jail because his victims keep dying. Go down that rabbit hole and you'll understand. Kevin Spacey is getting these people murked. And I don't want nothing to do with this man. This dude is tied up, linked up, juiced up with somebody. It's real. Before court, his victims never get to come to court to testify because they end up dying. I'll just leave it at that. But these gents are in the UK, and some of this shit is sick, especially the description of it. The actor has been charged with causing a person to engage in penetrative sexual activity without consent. Engage in penetrative. So did Kevin Spacey make one of the guys, who was a young man at the time, hit him from the back? All right, hit me from the back. Do it. Oh my God. It could have been penetrative in your mouth. Open your mouth. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, he's due to appear at 10 a.m. in the court. Now, it's important that we understand that Spacey said he would voluntarily show up, because that's what I was questioning myself, because there's no extradition between the United States and the UK. So basically, Kevin Spacey could just never go back to the UK and dodge all of these charges. But my man feels real buff and real swole because he said he's going to show up on his own. He made a statement to Good Morning America on May 31st where he said he's confident that he can prove his innocence. Stay tuned to Jody's Corner for more of the updates for the daily news and such like that. Moving on to other news. Thor 4 has a suspect runtime. We don't know if it's going to be rumored 2 hours and 20 minutes, or we don't know if it's the other rumor, which is more likely an hour and 55 minutes. That includes the credits. So you're looking at about an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes of actual movie. It's a couple of rumors out there. We don't really know, but a lot of people are pointing to it being the hour and 55 minutes, which means that it's going to be one of the shorter MCU movies. How do you feel about that? You care about it short? Care if it's wanted to be long? I'll be honest with you. This Thor Love and Thunder shit is going to be a comedy. It's going to be a whole bunch of jokes. And there's not really a necessity for this film to be long. Most comedy movies, if you think about them, they're very short. They're about an hour and a half. This movie might be an hour and 45 minutes. And I think it's only going to be an hour and 45 minutes simply because there's going to be a couple of action set pieces in there that prolongs this motherfucker. I have very little hype for Thor Love and Trash because I think it's going to be just that. That Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, looks fire. I'm going to give this movie a chance. It looks like it's just completely different. It's basically Ragnarok on steroids. So I'm looking forward to see what actually happens here. That's it for your daily news for today. Subscribe to Jody's Corner for the daily news right here on Jody's Corner, keeping you up to date at all times. I'm Jody Joe, and I'm out this thing. Deuces.